And hello, everyone, and welcome to Open, the one and only show that opens the Bronx and the rest of the world right to you. I'm your host, Daren, Jaime, and today we'll update you what's happening in and around our borough, as well as across New York City. Coming up, we'll discuss how children are facing behavioral and emotional issues when dealing with food allergies. Then, we'll learn how one company is fostering sustainable human impacts on ecosystems. What does that mean? Well, we'll break that down in a few. And we'll talk about how one organization is providing sheltering and services to Texas migrants. And then later, we'll introduce you to a center that's maximizing youth potential in New York City through education, music, sports, as well as civic engagement. And then finally, we'll talk about this year's ImageNation Outdoor Festival. We'll give you some more details a little bit later on in the show, so stay tuned because all this and much more is heading your way. Right now, we're officially open. And hello, everyone, and welcome to Open. I am Daren, Jaime. You are watching the show that brings the Bronx to New York City straight to you. We also want to welcome our viewers on Manhattan Neighborhood Network as Open is being broadcast live simultaneously on the MNN channel. We invite you to stay connected to us on our social media platforms at BronxNet TV, and then also our website at bronxnet.org. Well, we want to let you know some things have been going on through the course of the past week. We'll take you through them with our Bronx updates. We start off with community news. New York City Health and Hospitals held their annual South Bronx Community Resource Fair aimed at encouraging Bronx residents to prioritize their overall health. Our BronxNet reporter, Kgama, brings us the story.
New York City Health and Hospitals held their annual community resource fair for local residents.
We have a lot of different CBOs that came out, community-based organizations that came out doing some tabling. Also from the clinic, we also have blood pressure screening. We have one of our PCAs out here doing that. So it's just getting the community together and giving them, little incentives for coming out.
I'm so thankful that the community came out. This is a great opportunity for everyone to be aware of the chronic disease illness.
It's the first year back since the start of the pandemic, and the resource fair comes as an opportunity to further support low-income residents in the South Bronx who may struggle with prioritizing their health.
The intention is to really support our community, get them into health, get them into wellness, make sure that they understand that we are here as a resource for them. Many patients and families have been displaced from health because of COVID, and we want to make sure that they know we're here for them.
Helping the Bronx community prioritize their health through clean eating is Organization Relief Access Program for the Bronx, better known as RAP for Bronx. The organization collects and donates meals, groceries, and essential supplies to help underserved communities.
Today our organization is here with a free farmers market setup here with the street fair that we're having, and we're giving away free produce to the community. A lot of people are not aware or don't have the access to it, and when we're able to help with that, we do what we can.
This resource fair was just one of many ways Gotham Health educates residents on personal health and wellness. Regional Associate Executive Director for Gotham Health Bronx, Lata Singh, shares information on the classes they offer designed to assist patients with their health.
But we are doing a diabetes education every month here. We're also working with the hypertensives or hypertension, so you can come in and learn about hypertension as well. So there's a number of classes and things that we're doing that are very easy, translatable to our community so that they know how to manage themselves when they're not being seen by their doctor.
To learn more, visit their website below. Reporting for BronxNet, Kgama.
And thank you, Kibben. In other news, we have the New York Economic Development Corporation joining up with community and local officials for a graffiti cleanup along White Plains Road. Our Bronx reporter, Brittany Schuyler Albane, was on the field, and she brings us the details on this one right now.
Clean streets are healthy streets.
That was Fernando Ortiz from the New York Economic Development Corporation, who joined the White Plains Road bid and Bronx Borough President Vanessa Gibson for a graffiti cleanup along White Plains Road.
So today we're addressing the borough president's request to address quality of life issues here on the White Plains Road bid. So we're doing graffiti cleanups for the places that we have waivers for, and also doing street litter removal as well.
Concerns about graffiti along the neighborhood were initially raised by the Pelham Parkway Neighborhood Association. From there, the White Plains Road bid took charge and set up cleanups of the areas, including Bogart Avenue and Bronx Park East. This morning's cleanup is just the start of the several initiatives led by Bronx Borough President Vanessa Gibson, as well as the local community boards.
With the Sanitation Foundation, with the New York Yankees and Amazon, we have a cleanup series that we're doing across 6 different neighborhoods, and anyone that participates enters a contest to get 2 free tickets to the New York Yankees to the season for this year. And so we're trying to incentivize residents to be a part of beautifying and cleaning up our neighborhoods.
Those involved hope that these cleanups make community members take ownership of their neighborhoods and reduce the amount of graffiti present. More importantly, the White Plains Road bid and office of the BP are working closely to ensure that buildings that were recently cleaned don't get tagged again.
Every time we paint over something, we hope that it shows that we're here and we're going to repaint over it. In order to stop it from happening, we do speak with our local precinct. We do discuss it with other agencies.
Keep up with the office of the borough president on Instagram to see how you can get in on the nearest cleanup. Reporting for BronxNet, Brittany Schuyler Albane.
And thank you, Brittany. And that's all the time we have for our Bronx updates. I want you to stay with us. We are not out of show. Open continues coming up right after this break. And welcome back. Mount Sinai's Empower program engages with clinical research so they can better understand the reasons for distress in food allergic individuals as well as their families. Now, as a part of the program, our next guest and his colleagues have learned there are some concerns about a new school year, which the pandemic has only heightened. Joining us now and to giving us more details is the chief of the Division of Behavioral and Developmental Health at Mount Sinai Kravis Children's Hospital, Dr. Eyal Shemesh. And Dr. Shemesh, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for choosing this topic. I am passionate about it, and I'm really happy that you have chosen to speak about this.
Well, I want to talk about food allergies because we know a lot of parents have to deal with this. Children have to deal with this going back to school. And let's talk about, first of all, how big of a problem is it for those persons in families that are dealing with food allergies?
So I think there are about 10% of the population might be dealing with food allergy at some point in their life. So it's not an unusual thing to have a food allergy. And I must say up front, the food allergic child has food allergy, but otherwise they're fine. And the message should be, they're fine, but for this specific thing that they need to avoid. They're not different from each other. They can expect a full and fulfilling life. So let's not forget that. There are a few things they need to do, but other than that, they are like anybody, and they should be feeling that they are like anybody.
You should be feeling like you're anybody, but the fact is that when it comes to food allergies, sometimes children do not feel that way. There's,
That's right.
There's an emotional disconnect, right? Talk to us about what some of the things that we're seeing between children and families that are happening emotionally that maybe the general population doesn't really know about.
Right. So again, thank you for this question. I just said what it is, but you're right that very frequently this is not the case, or not the case entirely. And what we have realized is that the food allergy itself actually rarely happens. The child is not walking around having allergic reactions all the time. That's a very rare event in the life of most of them, or all of them almost. What they do walk around with is being nervous about the next episode. And so the nervousness is a constant thing that stays with them, whereas the allergy itself is less present, interestingly enough. So the emotional aspects of food allergy are, in my view, perhaps one of the most important issues in general with food allergy is the emotional aspect, not even the allergy itself. And I think that it is very hard to live with the idea that you can be exposed to something that's life-threatening, and it is hard, and it is stressful, and it can lead to all kinds of issues, from being anxious, as a general level, to even not doing well at school and having issues with the peer group. I would like to not forget that the parents are a part of it also, and they may, and even many times, it's not unusual that the parent has more anxiety than the child. I can review some of my research, but I would like to know if there's anything else you'd like to ask before I go on.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about parents for a minute, because it's not just a child, as you said. It's a parent, and a parent has to really deal with this. Sometimes parents are evasive because they feel a certain way about their child having a food allergy, and there's a sense of embarrassment, things of that nature. But what can a parent do to help ease a child, and also make sure their child is being put in the best proper position going to school?
Well, the first thing is be aware of yourself. One of our studies, we gave the same exact questionnaire about stress to about 1,000 people who just had a heart attack, and to 250 parents of children with food allergy. And guess what? Having a child with food allergy was most stressful. So I think that this is very important to recognize and to say, hey, as a parent, I'm stressed, and that's okay. Some stress is absolutely normal and acceptable, and don't be stressed about the fact that you're stressed. I think this is the one really important message. Don't be concerned about the fact that you're stressed. It is most of the times normal, and that's what makes you effective. Now, with regards to the child, there are a few things that I would say could help as you prepare for the new school year. Bullying suggests that during the pandemic, and this is really interesting, there was less physical bullying. If you think about it, obviously, because kids were not at school. And when they do go back to school, all of a sudden they may be exposed again. So there are a few things that I would like to say about what happens when a child with food allergy does get harassed or bullied. First of all, it is not common. Don't, please, the parents who have food allergic kids who look at this, don't look at it as though that my child, oh my God, my child's going to school and they're going to be bullied and it's bad. No, it's good for the child to go to school. It's not common that they're bullied. But when they are, what we found that was surprising to us is that the parent many times did not know. So the first thing is, please make it clear to the child that if they are being threatened with a food, they are being harassed because of their allergy, tell the parent and create the environment where telling the parent is fine. It's not tattling. It's just saying, this is what happened today at school. That's one. You should want to know, and you should tell the child, absolutely important that you tell me. The second is, at the time the child is threatened, this could be indeed life-threatening. That unfortunately, if you attack a child with a peanut who's allergic to peanut, it could be really, it could escalate. So tell the child, these are the things they need to do. First of all, disengage. Do not engage with the bully. Do not ignore the bully either, though, but go and tell an adult. It is not the food allergic child's responsibility to handle the bully. It is not something that they can not think about, forget about it, move on. No, you disengage and you tell an adult, and it's the adults who need to deal with it. I hope this is clear.
Yeah, very, very clear. But before we go, I want to talk about the services that you provide and allow our viewers to have an opportunity to find out how they can tap in to some of the services that you're able to provide for them.
Well, that's very nice of you to ask. Our program is a part of the Jaffe Food Allergy Institute at Mount Sinai. And what we are doing for our patients, and then you have to be a patient of our institute, is we provide free consultations with me or with a psychologist that help the parents and the children identify issues that they may have. They can be referred by a clinician or they can refer themselves. Now, for people who are not our patients, what we also do is we participate in organizations such as patient organizations and give talks. We developed a brochure and we do research that's available to all about the topics that we have discussed.
Well, Dr. Shemesh, we're going to have to leave it there, but a lot of information that you gave us that was very helpful. And I'm hoping that people will actually take advantage and reach out to you. But thank you for clearing some things up and bringing some things to light that maybe we don't know about food allergies. Dr. Eyal Shemesh, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you. I love to be taken advantage of. Please do. All of us.
We love having you too. And I wanted to let our viewers know, if you want more information, don't hesitate. Please go to the website. The website is mountsinai.org. And then also you can follow them on social media at Mount Sinai NYC. Well, we encourage you, don't go anywhere. We've got more open coming up right after this. And welcome back. The Human Impacts Institute is building a global cultural movement aiming to foster sustainable human impacts on ecosystems through inspired engagement, as well as leadership collaboration, knowledge building, and creative expression. Now, joining us to share more details, we're pleased to have the Executive Director and founder of the Human Impacts Institute, DePorte, and we thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here today.
So for somebody who doesn't know a little bit about your organization, why don't you just give us a little insight?
Yeah, so to take it from the nonprofit speak of our mission statement in a really simpler way, I think what we really do is experiment with how to engage people in environmental issues, and particularly around climate change, but always through the lens of social justice. So how can we make our communities, particularly our cities, more just and more equitable? And how we do that is we work with creatives, with artists, with performers, with the people that really inspire us in our communities, and work with them on new ways of how to engage people in action around environmental health, around safety, around more green space in our cities, and many other issues. We really try to focus on action and solutions, and also lifting up stories of local people that are doing amazing work, whether it be in New York City or we're currently working with youth in the Global South to really showcase activism going on there and to really show how people are making a difference in their communities.
Share with me a little bit about your perspective on this, because as we talk about issues like climate change, water quality, environmental justice, these are huge, and these are things that are in the forefront of the news, but yet and still, there's always this disconnect sometimes between what we see on TV, what we see in media, and then reaching the average person. But I know that your job does a good job of your organization, I should say, does a good job of really bridging that gap and making people more aware. Talk to me. Do you feel that more and more people are becoming aware?
There's definitely been a big shift in awareness over, I would say, even I'm aging myself, but in the past 10 years, even in the movement. And I think a lot of that has really been because of the very strong youth movement globally of young people are saying, no, we can't have that. We're destroying our homes, where people are dying, everywhere from the flooding in Pakistan to heat waves throughout the world. And there's a better way. We don't have to live this way. And I do think you're right. There is often a disconnect. And a lot of that comes from not people caring, but being overwhelmed. I've been working on this nearly my whole life. I started as a young kid in environmental activism, but it's overwhelming. It's complicated. It doesn't feel like you can make a difference. And that's where we work on that section of how do we break down these big issues, make them feel less overwhelming, but also build community. Because I think that's one of the things we see that's the most impactful for people feeling like they're both making a difference and can do more, is that it's not just them alone, that they find a community where they can contribute in their own way. So we aren't all going to go out in the streets and be activists in that sense necessarily, but there are so many ways to join in. And that's really how we try to highlight those stories of the many different ways you can take part.
Yeah. And I know that one of the ways that you actually do build community is that you do have workshops, and you have workshops on water conservation and then also water quality. If I'm an average person just coming into the workshop, what am I going to find out?
Sure. So each of our workshops, we tailor to whatever community we're working in. So for instance, we just actually worked in the Bronx with the Van Cortlandt Alliance. Our youth fellows from the summer worked with them on communicating some local issues there to the park. What you'll experience is very local ways to get involved. Understanding more what are the issues. So if we talk about water in New York City, for instance, drinking water, we're really lucky, is fabulous from the source. However, the problem with New York City drinking water is actually with our old infrastructure and with buildings. So where we end up getting lead in our water is because they're old lead pipes that haven't been, upgraded. And you can imagine throughout the city that becomes an issue, and there are resources for addressing it. So what we tend to do is help people understand the issue some, but then quickly shift to, okay, what can we do about it to protect our family, to be happier and healthier in our community.
Amazing. When I talk about awareness, I think one of the things that we talk about is youth engagement, because the way that most major movements that we see happen, sometimes we find that they're really led and generated by youth who have this social component that's really built in that says, I want to do something about this. So I know that you have a youth leadership initiative where you're actually building and engaging youth. Can you share with us a little bit about how that's making a difference in some of the work that you're doing and some of the results that we're seeing around our city?
Sure. I mean, honestly, I think it's some of our most rewarding and successful programs, both to just see the energy and the ideas that come from the diversity of youth that we work with, but also to see the innovation that they have and how to engage the community. So we have many different opportunities for youth. One of them is with our Urban Environmental Health Lab, where we have a fellowship. It's a paid fellowship, and we'll have another one shortly announced. We just completed the first cycle. And it's really selecting youth leaders in New York City that are from New York City or have lived there a long time. And they really go through learning about air, soil, and water quality in our city. Options, meeting many different community-based organizations, institutions that are working on these issues, everything from visiting a wastewater treatment plant to community activism. And then they develop community projects. So they partner with local organizations. One of our groups, the Soil Group, actually partnered with a city council person in Queens on doing outreach about citywide composting and engaging the community creatively on that. The other worked with a nonprofit with the Van Cortlandt Alliance on engaging on water quality issues in the Bronx. And so they really learn both kind of they learn about the network of amazing groups in New York City that are working on these issues, and then they get creative on how to engage the community on that. We also have a youth advisory council, which is about listening to youth voices on advising on our programs. So we think if we're going to be working with youth, we need to also be listening to youth and their ideas on how we can improve our programs, how we can have more equitable programs, and how we can also listen to what they want to see. So I would love to invite any youth listening or watching to apply for those. We also have an ongoing internship program. So lots of ways for youth to get involved.
Yeah. Well, Tara, we're going to leave it there, but thank you so much for enlightening us. Great work that's happening on the ground and really trying to shape the environmental justice that we so desperately need. I think New York City can say that while we are a city that never sleeps, one thing that we have to continue to do round the clock is environmental justice. So thanks so much for being with us.
And thank you. It's been an honor.
All righty. Well, if you want more information, what I'm going to encourage you to do is go ahead and visit the website at humanimpactinstitute.org, and then also follow them on Instagram as well as on Facebook at Human Impact Institute. Well, don't go anywhere. We got more show coming up. Open continues coming up right after this. And welcome back to the show. Acacia Network provides integrative, culturally competent, and trauma-informed programs in the area of health, housing, social services, economic development, and cultural revitalization to more than 150,000 individuals annually. Now, the organization has been sheltering many of the newly arrived immigrant families that have been bused from Texas and the transitional housing sites and connecting them to medical care, as well as medical health services. And joining us now to share more details, we are pleased to have with us is the Population Health Director of Acacia Network, Dr. Jessica Sessions. And Dr. Jessica, good to have you with us.
Thank you for having me. It's wonderful to be here today. I'm very happy to have this opportunity to talk about something that we feel passionate about and something we've been really taking an active, proactive response to.
Right. Well, I think a lot of people are worried about the condition of those persons who are coming, right? And I know that you're taking good care of them, but let us know, for those who are arriving, these migrant families that are coming from Texas, how's this transition been going from your end?
So, I'm a pediatrician. I work at one of our health centers, Ramon Velez Health Center in South Bronx. Acacia has really worked, it's multidimensional because we do have many different shelters that are housing these immigrants. So from a primary care medicine perspective, the site has been working with the shelters and trying to provide services for these migrants. And I think first off, they come here all hours of the day and night. They get put into a shelter, a residence. Some have kitchens, some don't. They're not speaking the language, so they're feeling completely overwhelmed, really scared, very grateful to have, a bed and a roof over their head and food provided. But you sort of get here in New York City, which can be just like crazy and overwhelming because it's large, bustling, lots of things going on. And they really are just trying to piece together, what is the next step? What do we do? So here at Acacia with our primary care sites, we have been working with people in the residences, and first of all, just trying to get medical services to the families. So that has involved just like transportation, like how do they get from one place to another? They don't have a Metro card, they don't have money. So we have worked with Uber Health and certainly like getting these families to the medical center, where we can provide a full assessment of their medical needs. We also have had our mental health professionals, our social workers here to really do more of the trauma-informed care and really assess families where they're at, like their mental health, their emotional health, how they're feeling, how they're sleeping. Here, we've been seeing lots and lots of families. So that means like children of all ages, babies from a few months of age to teenagers. And often there is very few records. So we don't really know about vaccination status. Many of these children have been not having very good nutrition because they've had a long journey to get here. So they've had like limited access to food. So they are coming with a lot of sort of nutritional issues, gastrointestinal issues. But sort of like that's where we start, is just like they're here. How do we get them here? And then once they're here, our primary goal is to be a safe and welcoming environment. So that means like greeting them in their language, kind of just explaining what are they doing here and what are the next steps, and just things like offering them food, while they're waiting, because it can be a long day here in the health center.
Absolutely. And I know that one of the things that you talk about in your organization is really during a situation like this about how to be trauma informed and also how to be culturally competent. And so when we talk about being trauma informed and culturally competent, make that make sense for the average person who's watching right now. How does Acacia go about doing that?
So, culturally competent is really understanding that people come from different backgrounds. They have different traditions, different beliefs, different languages, different thoughts about healthcare. So just understanding where do you come from? What kind of beliefs and views do you have about medicine? So culturally competence, speaking the language, giving things to them that they can read and understand in their language, and meeting them where they're at culturally and having that respect for diversity. Trauma-informed care, I like to think of it as you're not looking at the patient and saying, what's wrong with you? But you're saying, what's happened to you? Trauma-informed care is understanding that patients have been through a lot of different things in their life. So the way that they're coming at you is you kind of have to understand the whole person and be sensitive to what they have been through when you're providing care. You don't want to re-traumatize patients, but you want them to feel safe. You want them to feel listened to, okay? And when you're treating that person, you're treating the whole person, not just like what you see in front of you or what they're presenting with.
For our viewers that are just joining us, talking about the Acacia Network, really working to help out those who are the Texas migrant community coming to New York City. Acacia at the forefront of making sure that services are being provided. And Dr. Jessica, for somebody who doesn't know about Acacia, why don't you just give us a little background as to who Acacia is and where you guys are?
Okay, well, believe it or not, Acacia is a real thing. It's a tree found in the desert, which has it provides a large sort of canopy of shelter. So Acacia got its name from this desert tree. And I like to think of it as the network, the Acacia network has very deep, deep roots, which you have to do when you're in a desert. And those really deep roots, those are all of our staff, super dedicated, really wanting, it starts with an excellent, well-trained, dedicated staff, right? Those are the roots of the tree. And then the network, it is a very large network, but what it's here to really do is nurture and provide shelter and sustenance to the areas of greatest need, right? Which the desert is very needy. We are in areas of the South Bronx. We're in needy areas in the state, like Dunkirk and Albany. We're in other states in the country. We even have services available in Puerto Rico. And we are here to provide that nurturing and that sustenance to people who really need it. We're here to make the community better by providing resources, not only in shelters, but affordable housing, as well as healthcare, mental health, behavioral health care, as well as addiction services. We have social services, workforce development. We have Head Starts, early education. We even have cultural revitalization agencies in the city. You can find us all through New York City. It's not just primary healthcare, it's truly multidimensional and, you know, very wonderful mission. And, you know, we are here to provide those services to the patients that need them most.
Well, Dr. Jessica, I want to thank you for being with us here today. A lot of information. And as you continue to provide these services, thank you for looking out for those who are really in desperate need and really helping to bridge the gap, because I know what it's like to be in another country and not speak the language or know the language. So definitely thank you so much for that. And great having you.
Thank you for having me. Really appreciate it.
Well, we want our viewers to know now, if you want more information, all you got to do is don't hesitate. Go ahead and visit the website at acacianetwork.org, and then also follow them on social media at Acacia Network. We encourage you, don't go anywhere. Open continues coming up right after this. And welcome back to the show. Renaissance Youth Center is a not-for-profit organization that's aiming to empower at-risk inner-city youth to fully maximize their potential as productive and responsible members of society. Now, the center offers some dynamic team-building education, as well as music and sports programs, while instilling the importance of building strong communities. We have now joining us to share more about the event, and we've got the president and CEO of Renaissance Youth Center. We've got Bervin Harris here, and Bervin, glad to have you back, brother, and glad to have you talking about Renaissance.
Man, it's good to be back, and it's good to see you, man. It's been a minute.
It's been a minute. You know, COVID keeps people away, but we're glad to be back and connected. And so you got a lot of great things going. Your organization has been around for a minute, and you've been doing some great work. But give us a little update as to where you are today.
Right. So you say we've been around a minute, man. We actually turned grown this year. So been around for 21 years. I'm happy to say that as a co-founder, CEO, president of the organization, man, we are on fire, bro. This year, you know what? It's funny, man. When you turn grown, you start saying, I want to start doing grown things, right? And you start telling yourself like, hey, man, am I really maximizing my very own potential as an individual, let alone as an organization? So we took some giant steps this year. We just dropped an album project. We're really excited about it. It dropped on August the 6th, the MWAM project. If you can check it out at musicwham.org, or if you can go to renaissanceyouth.org, or on Spotify, you know, all of the other, you know, Amazon, Tidal, all the other streaming platforms. But this project is very different in the sense that it's not Barney music, but we got positive messages, right? So we're talking about everything from gun violence in our community to teenage suicide, to death due to gun violence, the lack of dreams. You know, Daren, it's interesting, man. I go to different shows and we got this song called "Dream with Me," and I walk around with this microphone in the audience, and I say, "What are your dreams?" And I'm asking even adults, and it's like, I want to graduate, or I want to, or I just want to see tomorrow. And those aren't dreams, And I like to define a dream as something, man, when you tell someone, it's almost laughable, right? Like if I ask you, what's your dream, man?
Right. You want to know what my dream is?
Yes.
My dream is to retire and travel and just be easy. How about that?
Okay. All right. And I laughed a little bit, because you ain't going to retire, so that's my laughing part for you. But I like to get people to like shoot for the stars in their dreams, like to say, hey, man, like Tyler Perry, who was once homeless, never thought in a million years he would own his own film company, right? His own lot even, right? That's a dream. And I know when he told people was like, look at this dude, you a bum, right? Mm-hmm. That's what I like to see our community do, because if we can just try to reach those amazing dreams and we land upon the stars, we're still in an amazing place. So the album is out, it's happening. There's a video for each song, and one even has a short film. And so if you haven't checked it out, sir, please check it out. Please share it, comment. We're excited about it.
Yeah. And I understand there's some exciting news that's happening for you as far as you're with us right now, but the United Nations also is going to be seeing you, and you're speaking at the United Nations.
Yeah, man. Who would have thought? See, there's a dream, right?
There it is.
So we can take these big steps, man. And I always say that success is when preparation meets opportunity. And so in these last few years, I've really been preparing myself for greatness, not knowing where it's going to come from, how that blessing is going to be bestowed upon me. But I'm prepared. So when the opportunity comes, I'm hoping that I can seize the moment. So in the last 4 years, and I haven't spoken to you probably in the last 4 years, my friend. I've been really involved in STEM and really STEAM, science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. And there is a very low representation of Black and brown young people or Black and brown people in the STEM field. So we developed here a zoology room, an agriculture room, an astronomy room, something that I'm calling Codebotics, which is a mixture of coding and robotics. We just came from a bio blitz, and most people don't even know what a bio blitz is. I didn't know what it was. With the American Museum, where I took 13 young people. We camped out for 3 days looking for uncharted species, right? And I tell you, man, trust me when I tell you, you probably know this. You don't see people of color doing these types of things.
Right.
And so I believe if you talk about a problem, you're obligated to at least offer a solution. And so we built these amazing rooms. And so now we've gotten the attention even of the UN to say, hey, what's going on over there in the South Bronx on 3rd Avenue between 167th and 168th Street? And we love what's happening. And we want him to come and tell the world of how he's getting young people involved in STEM. And if I had more time, I'd spend more time talking about all the things. But check out the website, renaissanceyouth.org. Come by and visit, because no matter what I tell you, you won't believe it. You got to see it. I swear, you got to see it. But it's happening, man. And I'm excited. And not only am I speaking on a platform on that day, that night, I learned about something that I didn't know about, that most people don't know about, which is called the 17 Sustainable Developmental Goals. And that's when they had the initial World Summit in 2015, and 190 something countries got together and said, hey, here are common problems, right? Poor sanitation, poverty, equity and inclusion, so on and so forth. And they came up with these 17 sustainable developmental goals. So when I learned about it, I said, how come no one knows about it? Like, how come schools aren't getting involved? How come programs like mine aren't educating young people on it? And so I wrote a song about it, let them hear it, and they asked me to perform the song at the UN. So that day, I'm speaking, and that evening, the group is going to perform a song called Let's Work Together.
What's that like for you? Talk about dreams. I mean, obviously, I've known you for years, and I know that you put the work in, but now to be recognized at the UN that you're going to speak, and at the same time, have your group that you work very passionately with be able to perform at the UN. We talk about exposure for kids, right? And it's important that people perish for a lack of exposure, particularly in our community.
Yes.
So now to have that opportunity and to bring that opportunity to young people, what's that feeling like for you?
Humble, tired, appreciating the journey. And I think the longer we stay on the journey, the longer you do this, the more you realize that you don't know, the more you realize what you should be doing, the more you look back in retrospect and say what I should have done. And so, so when opportunities like this happen, it's like, it's a humbling experience, and you're always questioning, like, man, how could I even maximize this even the more? Because our young people deserve so much more, man. And I've always had faith in the young community, and basically, and mainly the inner city community. And what I'm learning is that what we give them is nothing. It's like, and I'm not going to disrespect any other school system or Department of Health or whatever, that's not what this call is about. But we give them chicken feed and expect them to grow up and be strong, independent, young individuals. And it's not going to happen feeding them chicken feed. And so when you talk about something as specific as robotics, then you got to give them robots. You have to
Right.
give them educated individuals, instructors who know about coding, who know about hardware robotics. Where is that coming from? Where are those funds coming from? So one of the things I've noticed is that so many of our schools and programs, we say we do these things, but we don't really do these things. And the sad part is our young people walk away thinking that they do these things because they were told that they do these things. Does that make sense? Hey, I was told that I do robotics because I can take this marker and I can draw on this piece of paper, and there's a coding outline that allows this little robot to follow that paper. Okay, so what's the code? What's the language that you're using? How is that robot made? None of these things. But then when you get out of your little fishbowl of the inner city and you go somewhere else, you realize, man, I was robbed. I don't know anything. I'm just a little chicken because all I received was chicken feed. And so I want to change that and not do quantity programming, but do quality, because our young people deserve that and some.
Yeah. So if I got a parent out there that wants to get their young person connected, what do they do?
Absolutely. Call 718-450-3466. Ask about what you're interested in doing. We do a lot here. I've relinquished the sports program for right now because I'm so heavily involved with the STEM. And as we know, there's an issue with trying to get staffing all across the country. This is nothing unique. And so the call is not just for parents and kids, but also if you're interested in doing this kind of work, if you have a talent that can help a young person with their independent living skills, anything from financial literacy, to the STEM. I have 18 music instructors. We're currently now doing 4,000 kids a week in 27 different schools doing music programs. That means I need instruments. That means I need instructors, right? If you're interested in any of these things, please reach out. I have a recidivism program for those who are formerly incarcerated, trying to navigate through life. Can we get mentors for them? Can we get more jobs for them, right? Can we get a shall be for them? Can we get them to dream, right? So if this is you and I'm talking to you, please, you also give a call or check out the website, renaissanceyouth.org, renaissanceyouth.org, RENAISSANCE youth.org.
All right, well, we got to leave it there, Bervin, but I'm glad to see. Congratulations again on the success. There are people who you meet and you can see them consistently climb the ladder. And I can say when that happens, I can look at you and say, you're one of those people that are doing it and continue to do it. So thank you, brother, for being with us, and much success to you too. Much success.
Thank you, my brother. And thank you for being with us, because you've been doing this a long time and with a high level of quality. So when I know I'm going to be on your show, I know I got to have my game right.
I got to come correct, right? No,
That's right.
I thank you, man. It's been great. Bervin Harris, our guest here, want to let you know that if you want more information, this is what you're going to do. You're going to reach them at their website, renaissanceyouth.org, and then also go to Facebook and also on Instagram at Renaissance Youth Center. Yes. Don't go anywhere. We got more show coming up. We'll be right back.
Amazing.
And welcome back. The ImageNation Cinema Foundation is a Harlem-based media arts group that's founded with the goal of establishing a chain of art house cinemas dedicated to progressive media and about the people of color. Now, the 20th annual ImageNation Outdoors Festival is happening until September 17th. And joining us now and sharing more details, we are pleased to have the founder and executive director of ImageNation Cinema Foundation, Moikgantsi Kgama. And thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. And so are you, I guess, because things seem to be going well. So give us a little insight as to where we are.
Oh my goodness. This is our 20th anniversary of outdoor screenings. And this year will actually be the 25th anniversary of the organization. And we have been rocking and rolling this summer. We started showings on the 16th of July. That screening was actually rained out and moved to September 17th. So we've been going every week with the film screenings this summer. It's been wonderful. We actually had an amazing screening in the Bronx at Bronx Terminal Market Mall, where we showed Encanto and had a whole children's carnival. And another highlight is that we did the first ever Black Anime Con in Brooklyn. And we had live bands and vendors, and we showed a anime film. And so we're wrapping up the festival next week on September 10th. We're going to have a one-on-one conversation with the celebrated award-winning director Stanley Nelson and Professor Natasha Lightfoot from Columbia University. That conversation will precede the film Becoming Frederick Douglass. We're doing a special advanced screening in the Harlem community of that documentary. And then our last program is a film called Wax Print that explores the culture and the economics behind African fabric and all the wonderful clothing we see people wear. This film delves into the making of that fabric, the history of it, the economics behind it, and we'll be talking to some textile artists and vendors as well.
What's near and dear to my heart is that you came up and said that the soul of Harlem is going to be your theme. What really led you to having the soul of Harlem as a theme?
Well, we were invited by the Frederick Douglass Boulevard Alliance to produce a series on Frederick Douglass Boulevard in 120th. And so every week we were showing films, and we thought, especially post-COVID, it would be really nice to just honor and celebrate the community, to celebrate Harlem, to celebrate the special people who made Harlem special. So we started to think about films that featured local people and films that focused on local themes and local thoughts. And I thought, what a wonderful way to celebrate this community is to create a sidebar called The Soul of Harlem. And that's what we did.
Yeah. And so as you have these events coming up, obviously the film festival, very important for showcasing artists, but then also giving them some exposure. Talk to us about the impact of that exposure and the eyes that are actually open by having, an opportunity to see these artists and see these films.
Over the years, I've kind of grown to understand more about that impact. This is our 25th, we're going into our 25th anniversary as an organization, 20 years of showing films outdoors. And over the years, I've had children who are now grown up come to me and say, I grew up on your events. I grew up coming to your films. I've had parents come with their kids and say, our whole family would come to your screenings. And so our goal was always to show films that highlight our humanity and edify our viewers. And so when we start to realize that we've been building community and exposing children, families to really progressive content for 2 decades, it really speaks a lot to our impact. And there are people who came to our screenings and started out just as viewers. They just started out viewing films and became filmmakers. Just last weekend, we had the pleasure of showing the 40-year-old version, which is a film by Rada Blank, a really popular film that was on Netflix. And Rada actually was part of the ImageNation team. She joined the team after coming to a few shows, right? And then she became a filmmaker. And now she was always a screenwriter, but now she's kind of a celebrity in her own right. She had this film, 40-year-old version. She wrote for Empire. She's written, she produced the She's Gotta Have It series on Netflix. And it was a nice full circle moment that she started out as a volunteer, became a core member of the team, is now a really accomplished professional who has a show that just closed in the Met, and she came and we did this wonderful Q&A. And I know that our organization influenced her as a filmmaker. And so that's something that I'm very proud of. So there are people who you would never know who became filmmakers by coming to our shows. And there are people like Rada Blank. There are people like Ava DuVernay, whose one of her first films we supported, and helped her get it into the theaters. So our impact has been broad. It's been as broad as saying, I'm this kid who was exposed to progressive media, to as high as, okay, I'm Ava DuVernay and you've influenced my vision and helped me get my films out there. So, it's been pretty good and I'm pretty proud of the work we've done.
What's it been like for you? Because you bring up a person like Ava DuVernay, right? And we know where she is today, but we know that grind was hard to get to where you are. You need film festivals to be able to spread the word. So what's it like for you to be a conduit for people such as her and others to be able to launch their careers? Because that initial exposure is what really creates some doors being open.
mean, it's wonderful. It's wonderful. I mean, I wouldn't say that, like, in terms of an Ava, I would say that our impact wasn't so much about her initial exposure, but, she went on to open cinemas and she kind of got the vision from us, because that's something I was really interested in doing. And she supported us in our efforts, and we were able to kind of help shape her vision in that way. And the filmmakers, countless filmmakers has come and said how much they appreciated having this audience, having this venue. So for us, it's been affirming. It's been a validation of our work. And also a big part of our work is the audience development. It's in teaching people to be progressive viewers, teaching people the value of our own work. And that's something that, we're really proud of. When we first started out this series, people will come and say, "Oh, you mean you showing B movies?" And I'm like, no, not a B movie. These are independent films. These are pieces of art. And so that was one of the reasons why we took it into the parks, because, there was a time when like independent film was something that was kind of like a downtown thing, and it was an art house thing. And we didn't want people to feel like they had to go downtown to an art house to see themselves reflected in these progressive works. We wanted these works to be available in our communities and to be fully accessible. And that's why we started the Park series. So I think we were successful in that. There are folks, when we first started the Park series, we had a brownstone where we would show films, and we ran it as a cinema. We had concessions, we had ticket prices. People would go to the outdoor films for free, hear what was showing in the brownstone, and come right over. And so we were able to cultivate audience and cultivate appreciation through our model.
So Moikgantsi, before we go, I want to give people an opportunity to connect into what you have coming up. So how can they go about doing that?
Our website is ImageNation.us, as in United States, as in us Black people, as in us, ImageNation.us. And our Instagram is also ImageNation.us. And our Facebook is ImageNation Foundation. So you can find us at those places online. And we hope you will come out. The programs are free, they're entertaining and edifying, and they're for you.
All right. Moikgantsi, we're going to leave it there, but thank you so much. And congratulations, 20 years and
Thank you.
20th annual anniversary. And that's a great thing.
Thank you very much. And we expect to see you at a show. I've never seen you at a show.
That means I got to make it, right? So hold me to it. I'm going
to hold you to it.
Okay.
See you
do
soon.
that. Moikgantsi, Kgama, our guest here. And again, if you want more information, what we want you to do, visit the website, ImageNation.us, and then also follow them on Facebook at ImageNation Foundation. Well, we've come to the end of our show today. I want to thank all of our guests for joining us, and most of all, you, the viewer, for tuning in. Now, if you missed any part of today's show, you can catch the recable cast on Bronx, that's channel 67. If you have Verizon Files, that'll be channel 2133, or anytime on the web at bronxnet.org. Now, if you want to get a brand new episode, come back on Friday morning. My girl, Rena Valentine, will bring you the best of arts and entertainment. We give you a special shout out to those who are watching on MNN Network, as Open is being broadcast live simultaneously on the Manhattan Neighborhood Network channel. And glad to have our viewers sharing here with us. Well, that about wraps it up for us here. I am Daren Jaime saying thank you for watching this edition of Open. Until the next time we meet, stay safe, God bless, and most of all, keep our channel wide open.